Hello, good good day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is where you are. Welcome everyone. I'll start in about 20 seconds. The timer has gone off there. Let's turn it off. Um, I'll let everyone find their seats. If this wasn't a real auditorium, right, people are sort of shuffling in their seats. I don't know, getting their popcorn if it's in a theater or whatever it is, your drinks of choice. Um, Good, good, good. Let me get going then. So welcome everyone. Um, First of all, uh, who's the session for? I'll be talking about our Python for Beginners course, our upcoming course. So if you're a beginner, if you've never done Python before, that's great. You're in the right place. If you've done a bit of Python, maybe you've learned the basics from a textbook, from a tutorial, but you still feel like you're at the beginner stage and you want to do the beginning stuff thoroughly, welcome, you're in the right place. If you are a very proficient Python programmer, you're more than welcome to stay, but this is not a session for you, right? Here I'll be talking about a course we're launching at Real Python, which is aimed for beginners. Good. So that's to make sure that you're in the right place. Um, good. Now, we have a couple of different audiences here. Some of you are on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you know who you are, you know how Zoom works. There's a chat. If you ever see me looking to my left or whichever way you're looking at it, I've got my chats there so I can see your questions come in. Please ask questions at any point. This is an information session, but it's also a Q&A. So please ask as many questions as you want. You don't have to wait till the end to ask questions. I'll keep an eye on my second screen on the left, on my left, any questions that come in. If you're on Zoom and you prefer to raise your hand and speak, that's also perfectly fine. But we also have quite a few of you who are watching this session streamed on one of the social media platforms. Well, in that case, welcome. You can write your comments and they should appear on a different chat in front of me. So wherever you are, I should be able to see your questions. So have them in. Someone said, did I just freeze? Hopefully I haven't. Maybe it's just for you, Jacob. Hopefully I haven't frozen. Hopefully you can still hear me. Technology, we love it when it works. I'll keep going. Okay, other people said working well from them. So hopefully, Jacob, you're back. Maybe the electrons coming from my computer to yours got stuck somewhere along the way, but hopefully they've come unstuck now. Good, good, good. Okay, I can see some questions coming in there already. Let me get started and then I'll keep an eye on questions as we go along. So, good. Ask questions at any point. Quick intro from me. You didn't come here to hear about me. You came here to hear about Python for beginners, but this is a live course and I'll be teaching this course, so you might want to know a bit who I am. So, my name is Stephen, as you might be able to see under my face. I'm a scientist by training, so my first profession was as a physicist. And about 10 years ago, I traded physics for Python, and now I've been focusing on Python education for the last 10 years. I've taught all sorts of people of all different ages. And last year, I joined the Real Python core team to set up and run the live content. So I'll tell you more about this. So this is something that's relatively new at Real Python, the live courses. So I'm here as someone who's designed the course I'm going to talk about, and also I'm the person who'll be running it. So I should be able to field as many, questions across all the range, sort of why is the course designed the way it is, and how is it going to run when we run it. So that's a bit about me. If you're not familiar with Real Python, many of you may be familiar with Real Python already, great. If you're not, well, welcome to Real Python then. So if you are familiar with Real Python, you're probably familiar with the tutorials, written tutorials across all the levels. If you're here, you're probably a beginner, so if you've seen some of the beginners tutorials, great. There are some video courses as well, and Real Python has been running those for a while. But as I've mentioned earlier this year, we launched live courses. We've already run quite a few of these courses, but they were not beginners courses, so you haven't missed anything. The courses we ran earlier this year, the live courses, were intermediate level courses. But the format I'll be talking about, the format of this course and how the course works, it's tried and tested. We've run it already. It's worked well. We've also taken some feedback and fine-tuned it. So the format itself is something that we think is great for what we're going to offer. The content, this is the first beginner's course we'll be running. So the aim of these courses is, of course, to be thorough. There's no point in just scratching the surface, right? We want to learn what we're learning properly, thoroughly, with some depth as well. But we wanted a course that is flexible so it can fit around your busy schedules. We didn't want to create a course where you have to give up everything and spend X number of weeks just doing Python, because some people can do that, but many people have work, studies, other commitments, the dog to take for a walk, whatever it might be. So we've designed this course specifically so that you can fit it around your other commitments. And what I'll be doing today is I'll be telling you exactly what the course is so that you can think, yes, I do have that level of commitment that I can do for this course. So I'll be giving you an idea of the format of the course, how much commitment you might need to make sure you have throughout the day. And then, of course, we'll talk about what the course consists of as well. What's nice about this format, as I've said, we've run quite a few of these courses for intermediate levels, but the same format earlier. And many of the participants there found that it's useful. First of all, you have the structure of material happening every day, and that keeps you accountable. You sort of feel like, well, this is today's material. You should do it today, not tomorrow. You're working with your, or rather, you're learning with a group of other learners. So it feels like you want to help everyone and keep moving forward also because you're part of the group. So this format tends to be great if you're sort of wanting someone in the structure to keep you a bit accountable so that you don't start learning something and then get distracted with something else. So this is great because this is going to be a structured course with content happening daily. I'll be there. I won't be forcing you to do studies, of course. I can't do that, but I'll be there sort of encouraging and making sure we keep moving forward. So it's great to keep you motivated as well. Okay, let me get started with today's content. And first of all, let me turn this timer off. It's finished right now. So there we go. Cross should do it. There are two things I want to talk about today, as well as all the questions that I'll have a look at as they come in. First, it's the format of the course. Now, this is important because you want to know whether this format works for you, whether it's the style that works for you, and whether it's the commitment that you can give into this course. And then I'll talk a bit about the content of the course. Now, it's a beginner's course, right? So the content is going to be all the stuff you need to know as a beginner. But I'll still take you through, very briefly, through the curriculum of this course. Okay, let me have a look at some questions. Would you mind speaking a bit slower? I will speak slower. I normally do speak slowly, I promise. Here I'm trying to get as much, I don't want to keep you too long in this session, but I will slow down. And if I speed up again, Hassam, let me know and I'll press the slow button a bit. Is it difficult? Someone asked me. Well, I'll talk about that as we go along because I think I'll answer that question as we go through. Will we become intermediate Python programmers from this? Now, these terms, beginner is an easy term to define, right? Because you're a beginner if you're starting from the beginning. When it comes to intermediate advanced, I think different people mean different things. So I'll show you the content of this course. And as I explain the content of the course later in the session, Ian, hopefully give you an idea of how much we'll cover. Intermediate depends where you put the bar, I guess. Yeah, there we go. In fact, I think Jacob was answering Ian, I'm assuming. Okay, let me get started. Now, let me shift screen. One thing you should know about me, I don't like PowerPoint slides. So if you join the course, one thing I can promise you is you won't see a single PowerPoint slide in the whole course. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write as I go along, right? So I'm going to do a running commentary. And what I'm going to start doing here is I'm going to list the key points describing the format of the course. I'm going to list them quickly, just so that it gives you a snapshot of, yeah, this sounds good, or no, this is not what I need. And then I'll go through them in a bit more detail. So let me quickly scroll on my other screen. First things first, how long is the course? So this is an eight-week course. I'll tell you a bit later why it's 8 weeks. There's a reason why we didn't make it shorter. There's a reason why we didn't make it longer. I'll tell you why 8 weeks we think is great for this course. So I'll say a bit more about the 8 weeks. Importantly, it's roughly 1 to 2 hours per day commitment. Now, again, I'll say more about this. I'll say what the 1 or 2 hours consist of. It's not exactly the same on every day of the course, but roughly, and I say roughly, right, because there will be some days that are maybe a bit longer because there's a bit more material or you need to go through some material again. But if there are some longer days, then there will be some shorter days as well. So more or less, we're looking at 2 days, 2 hours per day. And per day, I mean per weekday, Monday to Friday. So 8 weeks, Monday to Friday. If you think you can spare roughly 2 hours a day over an 8 week period, then this is great. If you think, oh no, 2 hours, I just can't fit it in my day, probably this is not the right course for you. So good. What's next? Now, I'll tell you what the 1 or 2 hours per day are. I did mention earlier that there's flexibility. So a lot of the material you need to do every day, you'll be able to fit it anywhere you want in your day. But we also have three live sessions a week. So every week, there's the flexibility with all the other content, but the live sessions are fixed sessions. In this course, they're going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. One of them will be in this time slot, but I'll tell you more about time slots and time zones and all of that in a bit. So 3 times a week, we'll be meeting live. I'll tell you again a bit more details. So we are going to be meeting live, and the live sessions are really important. I think they're a way of us communicating. They'll be very different from this session because here I am talking to a large group of you, and I'm talking. Yes, you're sending me a message in the chat, so we are communicating via the chat. But really, it's mostly me talking at you here. I'm sorry about that. In the live sessions in the course will be smaller groups, and it will be a lot more. We'll all be seeing each other. I like to think of it as we'll all be sitting around a virtual table, sipping a virtual or a real coffee for that matter, having a chat and a discussion, and it will be a lot more to and fro. But 3 sessions a week. There will be 10 students or participants per cohort, per group. Again, I'll tell you why 10. I think it's important we have small groups so we can have those discussions. And last but not least, as the cliche goes, but it's true, we'll have a dedicated forum. So I'll tell you more about all of these, but in a nutshell, this is what the course looks like. 8 weeks, 1 to 2 hours commitment a day. There's stuff every day, but 3 times a week we're going to meet live, 10 students per cohort, and then we have our forum. Incidentally, so someone asked me, will it be live or recorded? So the live sessions will be live. There's other content, which I'll talk about more in a second, which some of it will be recorded content, some of it will be reading material, but the live sessions are live. And this is important because it's a lot about the interaction between me and you as students. So this is a bit of a hybrid course. There's or if you like fancy terms, it's a multimodal course. There's going to be some material you need to read, some material you'll watch on a video course, some in live sessions. You'll have exercises, you have projects to work on. There'll be a forum for the discussions to carry on. So it's a very multimodal one. Someone was asking me there. Let me post on both chats, and I'll tell you the link as well. For all the information, similar to what I'm talking about here, realpython.com/live. I'll give you this link a few times over the session as well. All the details of the course, I'll show you this page in a bit as well, but the exact times, the exact content, the curriculum, the cost, how to book, etc. All of that is in realpython.com/live. So I was showing this URL earlier, but I'll post it in the chat as well. Okay. So far, I think I've covered all the questions. So let me go through these key points and add a tiny bit. I'm not going to keep you long, right? So 8 weeks. Why 8 weeks? We wanted a course that doesn't just scratch the surface of, oh, here's a few things you can do, and that's it. We wanted enough time to be able to explore the fundamentals well, dig a bit underneath the surface. So not just how do I write this code, these are the words I need to use, but we try to understand a bit why we're doing things the way we are. So we need a bit of time to do that. We also want to be able to work on projects. And I'll tell you in a bit, we'll be working on projects throughout the 8 weeks. So we wanted to have enough time to be able to go into a bit more detail with these topics and explore them via projects and not have to rush through them. So that's where the 8 weeks comes from. But a reminder, this is not 8 weeks of full time. It's 8 weeks of about 1 or 2 hours commitment a day. So this brings me to the second point. Let me have a look. There you go, a quick question about the live sessions. I'll come to live sessions in a bit, right? I can see a question there about live sessions. Now, what does a typical day of the course look like? When I say 1 or 2 hours commitment a day, now, not all days are the same, right? But roughly, every day you'll have material on the course page. So when you join the course, you'll have the course page, and every day of the course, day 1, day 2, day 3, you'll have a number of resources. You'll often have a short video from me introducing the day, linking the topics together just to keep the flow of the course. But then what I've done is I've curated material from our real Python resources. Some will be tutorials, written tutorials, so reading material. Some will be lessons from video courses that we have at Real Python. And I've collated these together, and every day you'll have that material. And this is the material that you can go through whatever time of the day suits you. Maybe you want to wake up early in the morning and do it before you go for a jog, or maybe you want to do it at lunchtime, or maybe in the evening once you've come back from work, or whatever suits you. There'll be exercises in there as well for you to work through, and that is the core elements of the find the time that suits you material, and that's every day of the course. Now, that is not it. That's a key part how we're covering material, but we also have our live sessions, and this is an important component. Now, the live sessions fall into 2 parts. There will be one 90-minute, let me call it a structured session or lesson. And this would be on a Wednesday. And this is where some of the material of the week, instead of being delivered via the resources I've mentioned before, it's going to be a 90 minutes live with me. I did say live there, right? These are all live, of course. Where, again, it will be a conversation and a discussion, but I'll be leading this 90-minute session covering some of the topics. And typically I pick here topics that I think are better discussed in a live format, because you probably want to have questions you want to ask straight away. So that's going to be one of the sessions a week. And then we also have 2 Q&A sessions each week. And these are sort of 60 minutes, although if you have more questions, we sometimes go over the 60 minutes as well. So every week there's going to be 3 live sessions, a structured lesson on Wednesday, and the Q&As are on Monday and Friday in this course. And these are the structured session and the Q&As, I think, are such an important part of the course, because as you go through the material every day, you will have questions. The material we have, it's real Python material, so it's excellent, but you will have questions. The questions are there because as you're learning, you want to make sure, have I understood this correctly? Is this what am I reading this well? And those questions, you have a number of ways you can bring them forward. And one of them is to say, actually, let me write this down. There's a Q&A later today. I'll ask Stephen this question. And the Q&As are, as they say on the tin, right? I don't come with an agenda. It's you who ask me questions about whatever you've been learning. And there are Q&As, but I sometimes like to say this is a Q&A in D. The D is for discussion, because it's not so much you ask questions and I answer them. It's you ask questions and my answer starts off a discussion. And those discussions allow us to sort of meander around Python. And often that's where you get that now I got it moment. So I believe a lot in having these discussions. It's not you ask questions, me answering them outright. It's very much a discussion. And I find these Q&A sessions are a really powerful way of making sure that you have enough time, you have plenty of time every week to bring the questions, ask them live, listen to questions that other students are asking, and have those discussions. Now, someone asked me earlier, if you have to miss one of these sessions, are they recorded? Yes. Now, we would strongly encourage you to attend live because these are interactive sessions, right? It's not like this session where I'm talking to you and you're asking me questions via the chat. All of the live sessions are very much a discussion. So you get the most benefit if you attend live. But if on a certain Wednesday you have a work meeting that's gone on for longer than it has to, or you need to go to the dentist, or for some reason you have to leave early from a session, then yes, all the sessions are recorded. So if you miss part of it, or if you have to miss a session, you will be able to watch the recording for those sessions. That was a question I had earlier. Hopefully that covers it. So that's the 3 times a week, every week of the course when we're going to meeting live. This links to the size of the course. So every cohort, every course will have 10 students. Now we wanted to keep this to a size where we can have those conversations. As I was mentioning, this session, I'm talking to hundreds of you, I think, watching this. It will be very different here. There will be 11 of us, right? 10 of you and me having a chat. Yes, it will be on Zoom. We'll all be in different parts of the world, but it will be a much cozier group where we can have those discussions. And that's really important because the live sessions are beneficial if we can really have open discussions where no one feels they cannot ask questions because there are too many people. We will be running 2 courses at the same time. So the live sessions will be at different parts of the day. I'll show you the curriculum and you'll see the times in a bit. So you'll be able to choose whether you want to join this particular live session or that particular live session, but they will be separate groups. So we'll have 20 students in all, 10 in one group and 10 in another group. Now, the glue that binds everything together, the way I see it, is the forum, because the forum it's what it says there, right? It's a forum specifically for this course. So there will be the 20 students, 10, and myself, and maybe some of my colleagues. And this will be dedicated just for the course. So everyone on the forum is going through the material at the same time. And the idea of the forum is that it's a place where the discussion can carry on 24/7. I should put an asterisk there, right? I do have to sleep from time to time. So when I say 24/7, you can ask questions 24/7, and normally there's going to be someone there because we're all in different time zones. Throughout my daytime, I'll be there making sure I'll answer questions promptly. And if it happens to be my nighttime, of course, you get a question as soon as I wake up and have my morning coffee. So the forum is a way. I mentioned when you're going through the material, you will have questions. And I said there are 2 ways you can ask the questions. In fact, you can do both of them at the same time. And one of them is to jot a note somewhere and then bring it up in the Q&A. But you can also go and ask the question straight away. And the forum is a way of keeping the Q&As, keeping the discussions going 24/7 throughout the whole 8 weeks. I will be posting some of my thoughts, some of my perspectives there. So it's very much an informal conversation about what we're learning. If you're working on exercises, you might think, oh yeah, I quite like this solution I've come up with. Post it on the forum. And then I can give you feedback. Maybe other students in the course can also tell you what they think. And it's a way of keeping that conversation going. So I think I've covered what the course looks like there. If anyone wants me to go through any of these aspects again, let me know in the questions and I'll come back to that. So 8-week course, every day you have material that you can cover in your own time. 3 times a week we'll also meet live. By the way, on the Wednesdays when we have our 90-minute session, on most Wednesdays you won't actually have extra material. So on the Wednesdays, almost the entire time commitment is the 90-minute session we have. And the Q&As are sort of over and above, right? So you still have material to cover, but the Q&As are an extra session where you can sort of come and ask questions. Small groups with a forum. Good. I will soon move on to, this was the format of the course. I'm going to move on soon to what's in the course. I'll have a look if I've answered all questions so far. How does this course compare to any Udemy or free codecamp courses? Well, rather than compare and tell you other courses, I can tell you what's, so what we have here is we have live aspects. You have me, I'm your instructor. I'll be there throughout the whole 8 weeks, present almost 24/7 on the forum, except when I'm asleep, in the live sessions. We're using the content. Some of you may be familiar with the content in Real Python. So we have great content to put in our everyday material. We have live interaction. So it's very much a small group learning together with my guidance, guiding you through the whole 8 weeks, through live sessions to the forum. So that's pretty much it. Will you cover what tools we need for the course? I'll tell you a bit about that in a second. So the answer is it doesn't really matter, right? So if you've never done any Python programming before, we will guide you on what you need to install and how to install it, etc., etc. But if you have your favorite, you've mentioned Idle, Visual Studio Code there. If you have your favorite, it's perfectly fine as well. Okay. And I'll see, what are the requirements? This is a great question, and it's a perfect way to link me to the curriculum. So this page I'm showing you here is realpython.com/live. I've posted it in the chats, and I'll give you the link again later on. I'm not going to read through it, right? You've got the link, you can have a look through it. I'll simply scroll through the curriculum, and I'm just going to highlight a few things. So what are the requirements to enroll for the course? None. If you have never done any programming before, if you have never done any Python before, this course is perfect for you. In fact, that's why in week 1, we're going to start from the very basics. Now, some of you may have done a bit of the basics. Maybe you've picked up a textbook at some point and started to learn, and you think, oh yeah, I've done if statements, I've done while loops, but you still feel like you know a bit of the basics, but you've never really put them together. So this course is also for you. Of course, in your case, you might already have come across some of these topics before. But as I've mentioned before, one thing that we do here at Real Python, and I believe in how I teach, is not just to go through, this is how you write a while loop, this is how you write an if statement, good, now you know it. But I like to dig a bit deeper and see, when you sort of dig underneath the surface, what is there connecting everything together? How can we understand things at a slightly deeper level? And I think that extra step is really important to understand, not just how to use these tools independently, but how to bring them all together when you want to solve a problem. So even if you've done some of the basics, I'm sure that as we go through these topics again, you'll be able to understand them at a deeper level. Now, so we're going to start with the basics. If you're a beginner, none of these terms make any sense. Don't worry. That's what this course is about, right? So if these terms make sense to you, then you know what we're covering. If not, just trust us. One thing you'll see here is that in most weeks, almost all weeks, I think, we have mini projects. And I think this is really important because when you're learning anything really, but when you're learning programming, there's the theory, the theoretical stuff, right? You know, what is an if statement? How do I write it? What does it do? Of course, you need to know that. But there is a risk sometimes that you learn all of this theory, and then you learn more theory, and then you learn even more theory. And that's great, but how do you bring it all together? How do you solve problems with it? And that's where working on projects is really important. So we're going to have projects throughout the whole course. So this mini project here in week 1, as you can imagine, it will include the topics we're learning. So as we go through, we're learning the theory, but we're also working on these mini projects. And the way the projects will work is, it's not me coding and you watching. I will give you my solutions, but the idea would be, let's work on this today. You have a go. you start working on the project. You can go on the forum and ask questions and share your code. We discuss it in the Q&As. And then, yes, I'll also show you how I would solve the problem so that at the end you still have a solution. So you'll be putting into practice everything we learn instantly with all of our mini projects. By the way, as I scroll through here, you can see that there are the dates for all the sessions every week. The times that are shown there will be in your time zone. I'm based in the UK, which is why it's showing the United Kingdom time. But when you go to realpython.com/live, you'll see the times in your time zone. So that's how you'll know whether this fits in your schedule. You'll find that there are two groups. You will need to pick one of these, right? So you won't need to do both of them. So either this time works for you or that time. And they're the same sessions, right? So it's not 2 sessions a day, as in there will be 2 sessions a day, but you'll be attending one of them every day. Good. Let's keep going. Week 2. I'll go quicker now, right? Because I'm not going to just read through them. So week 2, we're going to be talking about iteration. And what iteration means is often in programming, we have lots of things and we want to repeat the same process for each and every one of them. Often programming is used to do repetitive work that we don't want to do, but we want the program to do it. That's what iteration is. For loops are one way of doing it. We'll also talk about lists. And lists are one of the, we call them data structures in Python, where we can store data. A computer program does 2 things simply. It stores information, it stores data, and then it does something with those data. So an important part of programming is knowing where to store the data. And we have different types of containers, if you like, for different types of information. And lists are one of the very important types of containers where we can store information in Python. So we'll be covering lists, also some others, such as the funnily named tuples or tuples. Again, we'll of course explore these in detail. Yet another mini project on week 2. Let's move on to week 3. This is the superpower in programming. Functions, if you compare a language like Python with languages we speak, English or whatever languages, there are similarities, right? They're not exactly the same, but there are similarities. Defining functions is a bit like inventing your own words. You might want a word that is very specific for your application. In programming, in Python, you can create your own words. You can take something small that does one thing, you package it into what's called a function, and then you can reuse it over and over again. So functions are those things that make programming so powerful and so flexible. So they're really important. We have a whole week where we're going to focus on what functions are, how we define them, and all sorts of things. Yet another mini project, as you can see. Week 4, I talked about data structures, right? The boxes we use, the different types of boxes to store different type of information. So here we're going to look at more of those data structures. Week 5, we're going to move to a topic which is often considered more intermediate level. So why am I putting it into a beginner's course? And there are 2 reasons. So this is object-oriented programming. Some of you may have heard of this. If you've never heard of it before, again, welcome to the course. We'll explore all of this. Now, object-oriented programming is what's fancifully called a paradigm. It's a style of programming, right? And there are 2 reasons why I want to introduce the basics of it. We're not going to cover all of this topic, right? We're going to introduce the basics in this course. First one is because it's such an important style of programming in modern computer programming. So as you move on in your programming journey in Python and in other languages, if you want, you will almost certainly come across object-oriented programming in one form or another. So having a good basis of it early on, understanding it early on, at least understanding the basics of it, is, I think, really important. That's one of the reasons why OOP, as we call it in the lingo, I prefer to introduce it early on. Second reason, Python, the language, is inherently an object-oriented language. This means that these principles, object-oriented principles, are at the basis of the language itself. I talked about digging underneath the surface earlier. And once you start digging underneath the surface, the plumbing you find is object-oriented programming. So the second reason we're doing this is because by understanding some of the basics of this style of programming, lots of things in Python will suddenly start to make sense. The pieces of the jigsaw will start to connect together. So that's why a topic that is sometimes a bit more intermediate, but don't worry, we're going to only introduce it in a relaxed manner. Week 6, we talk a bit more about object-oriented Python, and then we talk about debugging. Great word. Not many areas of study have a section within them about errors and finding errors and how to fix them. So a bug in a computer program is when a computer program doesn't do what you want it to do. It might give you an error, or it might give you a result, an answer, which is not the right one. So that's a bug. And as programmers, it's really important to know how to find the bugs. They're not always obvious. And once you find the bugs, knowing how to fix them. So debugging is the art and science, and it is a bit of an art and science of finding the bugs, understanding them, and fixing them. So we'll start looking at some debugging techniques on week 6. Now, weeks 1 to 6 are where the content lies. Weeks 7 and 8, we're going to be working. So we had lots of mini projects in weeks 1 to 6, right? But now, weeks 7 and 8, we're going to work on a larger project over 2 weeks. And this is where you can see that's week 7 and week 8 carries on with the project. This is where we're going to work on one project which brings all the things we've learned in weeks 1 to 6 and brings them together into one project. Yet again, the way the project works is we'll discuss what we need to do every day. You'll have a go at it. You'll try to write the project yourself. You will get stuck, and that's okay. That's what I'm for, the live sessions, the forum. And then, of course, I'll also have some videos and I'll post my solutions as we go along so that we don't remain stuck. But the project is about you working on it and getting your fingers moving, working on the project. That's our 8 weeks. So 13th of October to the 5th of December is when this course is running. Let me scroll all the way to the top. I'll come back to this in a bit. Let me have a look at some questions. So someone there asked me, can it be recorded? Now, if you're asking me about this session, this information session, this is being recorded. So if you've just joined and you think, oh, what happened in the first bit? This information session is recorded. If you're on Zoom, I'll send you an email with the link. If you're elsewhere, you'll always find it on the Real Python YouTube page. And if you can't find it, just send us an email at Real Python and say, oh, I've attended that info session on Friday. Can you give me the link and we'll send it to you. So this session is recorded. The live sessions in the course, I've mentioned this earlier, but for those who maybe were joining later, yes, they're also recorded. My advice is to join them live so we can have those discussions. But if you have to miss any of the live sessions, all of the sessions throughout the course, they will be recorded. One other thing I should say, all of the content in this course, the daily content, the tutorials, the video courses, all of those things you're doing throughout the day, and the recordings of the live sessions and the content of the forum, you'll have access to those resources beyond the course, right? So it's not just for those 8 weeks. All of the content you have in the course, you'll have access to it for as long as you want to. Good. I'll have a look at some questions. From my side, I've more or less covered everything I wanted to say. So now I'll look at some questions. I'll then wrap things up towards the end, but I'll keep going as long as I have questions there. Incidentally, someone asked me earlier, will you tell us what we need in terms of software to join the course? So yes, I mentioned that you're going to have the material for weeks 1, 2, 3, all the way to week 40. When you join the course, there's also a week 0. And week 0, as you'd expect, it's what you do before you start the course. It will guide you, if you've never done Python before, it will guide you on how to install Python, what tools you may want to need in order to be ready, so that by the time you start on October the 13th, on day 1, you have all the tools you need. And I'll be there and we'll be there at Real Python. If you have issues with your software installing it, we'll help you and we'll make sure you're all set before the course starts. So yes, we will guide you on what you need and what you don't need. Um, I'm not very dogmatic on what tools you need. So of course you need Python. Now, those of you who are familiar with the Python ecosystem or programming in general, there are lots of different editors, what are called IDEs you could use. Whatever you're comfortable with. We will recommend some in case someone says, oh, I don't know which one to choose. I'll tell you, okay, go for this one then. But as long as you have something to code in Python, that's perfectly fine. So if you have no preference, we'll give you our suggestions and you can go along with them. If you already have a preference, oh, I think I like VS Code or PyCharm or whatever it might be, then go for it. As long as you can code in Python, it doesn't really matter. Let's have a look. Stephen, nice name. Are groups fixed once selected? So this is a great question. If you say, look, I'm going to join group one, will I have to stay in group one? No, we like to be flexible, right, in everything we do. Ideally, we'd like to know who's going to be in the morning group and who's going to be in the evening group. Morning and evening for me, right? It might not be for you. But if on a certain day you can't join the whatever time it is for you, of course you can join the evening one or whatever. If someone here has a requirement where you need to be switching constantly, let me know. We will manage it as well, right? So no, if you need to swap to another group for the odd session, by all means, we like to be flexible here. So hopefully it answers your question, Stephen. Wendy asked about AI. And I will, I've run a few more of these information sessions and I've always talked about AI, so I'll tell you. Your question is, AI is a hot topic nowadays. Will there be any high-level discussion during the course on Python libraries that are used in AI applications? So, not directly. Why? Because this is a beginner's course. So we are not going to be looking at any specific applications of Python. I often give this analogy in terms of what do you use programming for, Python for. And my analogy is, imagine you're in a park and there's one of those old big trees. You have the tree trunk, and then at a certain height, the branches start branching out. And in my analogy, the branches are the applications you might use Python for. Web development, game development, data science, AI and machine learning, whatever. There are lots of branches. In order to be able to climb on those branches, you have to first climb the main tree trunk. Those are the fundamentals of Python, and those are the fundamentals we'll be covering in this course. So this course will not be looking at data science, web development, any other application of programming itself. It's going to look at the basics, but these are the fundamentals you need for anything you want to do with Python. So we won't be talking about Python for AI applications itself. However, generative AI, the LLMs, are a part of how we program and a part of how we learn. So we will, as we go along, whenever it's appropriate, say, well, actually, can we see whether AI can help us a bit with this and learn how to incorporate LLMs as part of our learning and as part of our coding. I can talk more about AI and its role and how coding maybe has changed a bit about AI if you have questions about that, or maybe I'll just mention it anyway in a bit. So I'll come back to AI. So hopefully that answers your question, Wendy. We're not going to be looking at specific applications. So we're not going to be looking at this is how you create AI tools in Python. Why? Because that's not a beginner's topic. Christoph, same question there. Will you be covering scientific packages like Matplotlib and SciPy? No, for exactly the same reason. This is a beginner's course. Matplotlib and SciPy are not beginner's topics. They're not that difficult to use, but you first need to know the basics of Python, and they are specific for certain applications of Python. I'm assuming you might be interested in, well, you say scientific packages there. So that is one of the branches I was talking about. So no, in this course, we will not be talking about that. We already have an intermediate course, which is core Python. So again, it doesn't apply It's not scientific Python. So we already have an intermediate course that's running. We are planning to broaden these courses. So we will have some data science courses, maybe some also scientific Python courses, but we don't have them at the moment. And those would come after you have the basics in place, of course. Um, uh, I would love to use Python for backend engineering. Again, if you have an application already in mind, that's great. If you're a beginner in Python, what this course is going to give you is the fundamentals. And uh, we're not going to be looking at specific applications, but the fundamentals are there. They're the foundations. It's a bit like the foundations of a house, right? They're there. You might not see them eventually, but they're there and they need to be there in order to go through any other applications. Um, okay, let me go back to my overview. So, can this curriculum be printed? So the curriculum is, let me give you the link again. So the curriculum I was showing you is on realpython.com/live. I've posted it in the chats, and I'll show it to you on the screen again. So if you want the curriculum, it's all there. You can have a look at it. You can print it out if you want as well, and all the details, etc., etc. So in a nutshell again, and then I'll check whether there are any questions. 8-week course. Roughly, we're expecting sort of you want to have about 1 or 2 hours commitment per day. This is even though it's 1 or 2 hours a day, it's an intensive 1 or 2 hours, right? So we're covering quite a lot in these 8 weeks. The material you have every day, you'll be able to fit it wherever you want in your day, but we'll also be meeting live 3 times a week. One structured session and 2 Q&A sessions. There will be 10 students per cohort, and then there's a forum that will keep chatting all along. Gary asked, will you be available for support after the course? The forum stays open, right? So the throughout the 8-week course, I'm there all of my waking hours, fully active and answering. But by all means, if after the course there are some questions that come in, I'll still be around, right? But the main support is throughout the 8 weeks of the course, right? But yes, I won't disappear afterwards. So I'll still be around, you'll still be able to find me. And of course, we can still have chats afterwards. Good, 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 good. There are, I think I've answered all the questions that need an answer there. I will pause for a few more seconds. I'll actually show you once again, not this one. What do I want to show you? That one. We're not starting soon. We have started already. So realpython.com/live. All the information I was giving you. If you want to have a look at the dates and the times in your time zones, the curriculum, everything else you need, have a look at realpython.com/live. If you need to ask me specific questions, please by all means do. If you're on Zoom, you have emails from me already, so feel free to reply to those emails. If you're watching on one of the streams, you'll find me on social media, or just send an email to RealPython and say, oh, Stephen was talking to us on Friday. Can I ask him a question? And they'll send it to me. So especially if someone, maybe you're not a beginner and you're thinking, is this the course that's for me? Ask me and you're more than welcome. Are there still places available? I believe there are, yes. There are some places. They're small groups. So we're only going to have 2 groups of 10. But last time I've checked, I think, yeah, they're not fully booked, both sessions. So I'll keep answering questions as long as they're coming in. Is learning Python for data engineering as a beginner too much of a big leap? Okay. So one thing I often say is the process, if you're a complete beginner and you've never done any programming before, and you want to start working with professional level Python, it will take a bit of time to learn the basics, learn them well, practice them. Going from zero to being able to run professional code is not something that's going to happen in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. This 8 week course is going to give you the basics, fundamentals. You're going to learn them well. Then you want to spend a bit of time writing projects, working on projects, and building on that knowledge. So it is a learning how to program is a technical skill. It's not something you can sort of cut corners through. It will take a bit of time. So the realistic answer is, if you're a beginner, you will need to put in the hours, you need to put in the effort to learn the basics, learn the fundamentals, start to use them, and then build on top of that. So hopefully, Victor, hopefully that answers your question. Um, are they courses? Um, I'm not sure I've understood that question, Mariam. Good. Um, I've got some questions there, which I'm not sure. Do you mainly work in AI LLMs? So I'm not sure where the question is. Will we be using AI LLMs in the course? We'll definitely be talking about them, yes, because they're an important part of how learning has changed and programming is changing. Now, the AI we have at the moment is a tool. I use it daily. I use it daily in helping me speed up how to write programs. And all programmers have been using AI. The way the current AI is that the better programmer you are, the more you can use AI to leverage on top of that. It will speed up all your work. It will allow you to branch out in areas you're perhaps not that familiar with. So I've been teaching Python for over 10 years now, and for most of that, pre-LLM eras, learning the fundamentals was a stepping stone to then learning more intermediate and advanced knowledge. And that's still the case. But one thing that has changed is that now with LLMs, a good knowledge of the fundamentals takes you much further now than it did before the advent of LLMs. Why? Because knowing the fundamentals now allows you to use AI effectively, to know what to ask it, to know what to look for, to be able to have that conversation with an LLM, decide, yes, I want that, no, I don't want that. If there are topics that you know but you don't know that well, that's where AI will help you. So I think the way AI has changed programming is that the more programming you know, the more you can multiply it with AI. So I think it's a great time to be. There's never been a better time to learn Python, I think. One day in the future, maybe AI will do everything for us, and then every profession will probably go, but we're very far away from that. Oh, Jacob, sorry, I had misunderstood your question. So throughout the course, we don't have one-to-one sessions as such, but we have our Q&As, we have the forum, and of course in the forum we can have as many conversations as people want. So the live sessions we have throughout the course are the group sessions, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then in the forum, the conversations keep going all throughout. So there are no live one-to-one sessions as such, because all the live sessions are as part of the cohort. But there's going to be lots of one-to-one conversations happening in the forum, and that's where the conversation lives as well. Good. I'm almost on the hour. I don't want to keep you longer. So what I'll do is I'll stay here for a bit longer in case anyone has questions. I'll stay here in the background. So if you have questions, please do send them. A reminder, this session was recorded, so if you missed some of it, well, realpython.com/live is where you'll find all the information. But if you want to catch up on some of this recording, you'll find it on the Real Python YouTube page. If you need to get in contact with me, you need to ask more questions, please do so. Great. Someone's asking me, what's the next step if you want to sign up for the course? realpython.live. If you've seen it all and you think, yeah, this is the course for me, realpython.com/live. You'll be able to sign up directly from there. And once you sign up, then you'll be able to choose a group after you sign up. We're very flexible on that. So those who sign up, I'll then get in touch with you, and we'll make sure you're all set up. Will there be this course in the future? So yes, the plan is we will run this course again. Now, it's starting now, October to December. It won't be running early next year. So the earliest this course will run again after now is probably going to be around March, April next year. We don't have the dates fixed yet, but it won't be before then anyway. And yeah, all the details about all the logistics of the course, the dates, times, sessions, cost, how to enroll and everything, realpython.com/live. You'll find all the information there. Good. Thank you for joining. I'll let you carry on with the rest of your day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it might be. And if you have any other questions, you can pose them here in the next few minutes, or if not, find me elsewhere and please do ask questions. Thank you for joining.